kind of overshadowing the music, you know. That's not good.
It made black metal a real name, I think, but nowadays Norwegian black metal is bigger than ever, and I think that's mainly because of the music, not of the church burnings.
Daring the flesh of the weak tender child, spurning my load of the meek and the mild. I sink my fangs in your neck as you dream. I am no longer vampire supreme.
Norwegian black metal's history is rooted in the early black metal movement of the 1980s. Bands such as Venom, Merciful Fate, Bathory, and Celtic Frost forged a new direction in the history of metal, one that was raw, primitive, and defiantly anti-Christian. Although this first wave was short-lived, in Norway, a group of young musicians were determined to revive the black metal spirit.
There's never been much interesting happening in the musical scene in Norway. Most of the bands were sort of imitations of foreign things, and you had Norwegian record companies looking for the Norwegian Nirvana and things like that. And then suddenly there's this whole genre of music that's being given a whole renaissance in Norway, and it actually becomes a sign of quality to be from Norway.
Artistically, the most important thing that happened in the 90s was Scandinavian black metal. All the ground had already been laid by death metal and grindcore. Really super fast drumming, screeching vocals, but they also tried to get back to a more primitive, fiery spirit, summoned using keyboards and a lot of choral vocals and a lot of imagery of the natural wilds.
The whole second wave black metal thing was going back to the primitive while still being sort of pompous. I mean, you had the gritty of punk and rock and roll, but you also had like room for Wagner or some classical stuff.
It's very, very epic and floating in a way. It's not really that hard hitting and beating. It is not that upfront.
That's really the sound Emperor eventually became known for. It's more like the atmospheric, bombastic sound.
Norway has a population of 4.5 million people and is ranked #1 on the United Nations Quality of Life Index. It's home to the Nobel Peace Prize, and since the discovery of massive offshore oil deposits in the late 1960s, Norway has become one of the world's wealthiest countries. So how is it that this place became the home of metal's most extreme subgenre, black metal?
Do you think there's a strong pressure to conform in Norway?
Of course, it's important to conform. They start through socialization, through kindergarten and school, that you should be part of a group, that you shouldn't stick out too much, that you shouldn't make too much noise, that you shouldn't protest too much. It's not really a culture where opposition is valued.
What is a vital power here is a kind of, you might say, sheepishness, conformism, following the stream of general morality and not fashioning your own morality, depending too much on the others. And that's why I'm also saying that perhaps black metal is the sort of the ultimate moral form of anarchism, because it says you have to have faith in yourself.
My aggression comes definitely from the morality in this civilization. What you're supposed to do, all the rules you must follow to be respected. By the rules, I mean how you're supposed to live. Supposed to get a job, to reproduce, get a family. That's the main reason I play metal music, to let out the aggression there.
The metal scene in Norway is challenging the social democratic ideology in Norway in a very interesting way, because the metal scene is, well, representing a kind of very individualistic ideology.
My lyrics, they all come down to being about the single individual standing up against, a big mighty force it can be an institution like the church, or it can be, against whatever kind of force that is working against the individual.
People in the scene playing this kind of music view that very high, being able to stand for what you believe and think for yourself instead of follow all the trends and basically being just a fucking moron.
That's basically why black metal was created, because we didn't fit into the rest of the metal scene. We don't stand for socialism, we don't stand for democracy. We stand for the individual and the strongest survival.
They don't fit into the overarching Norwegian narrative, you see, because the Norwegian narrative about Norway is that Norwegian culture and society can only produce good deeds and good thoughts. And these are people who demonstratively want to be bad.
Hatred is the fuel of black metal, I'd say. And always being in opposition, and that means if I have to turn on myself or turn on things I've created, I'll do that as well. There's no one safe. I'm kicking in every direction.
A lot of young people today, they want to oppose to something, that to authority.
Yeah.
And maybe the churches has been linked too much to the authority.
Right.
And that has maybe been some of the reasons for opposition against the church.